Hi guys, so following the election victory that saw support for the SNP rise and the forming of a coalition with the Green Party that is also pro-independence, Nicola Sturgeon, the First Minister, has reminded the public what she was put there to do following the election, to get the ball rolling for a second referendum on independence. So while she held off calling one so far due to the pandemic, Trevor Phillips from Sky News suggested that she was cynically waiting for the best time to call one. Anyway, let's hear what she had to say.
First Minister, you know me well enough to know that this is not the sort of thing that would cross my mind, but there are some nasty, cynical people who would say that the judgment you really want to make is when will it be more likely that you get the answer yes from a referendum? Because right now, the polls don't tell you, yes, we want a referendum, or indeed, if there were one, that you would definitely win. And that really, when you say COVID permitting, what you really mean is when it's politically advantageous to me, Nicola Sturgeon.
I think it's right for the country. Look, I'm not going to sit here as a politician and say that in any decision, I mean, we have fixed-term parliaments in Scotland, so it doesn't arise, and for the time being there are fixed-term parliaments in the UK, but when that wasn't the case, Prime Ministers, of course, used to make judgments on when they would call a general election based on when they think they could best win them. Any politician is going to factor those kind of judgments into those decisions, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend otherwise. Of course, some polls right now do suggest that yes would win. Others suggest that yes is slightly behind. I'm very confident that when this question is next put, people in Scotland will vote yes. And one of those reasons is that we have seen that all of the things that were said to Scotland by the No campaign in the referendum in 2014, not least that being independent would see us lose our European Union membership, have turned out to be false. So I'm confident about that. But my primary consideration, and the two are not completely divorced from each other. My primary consideration is to do what's right for the country. When is it right? I think it's right that the country gets to choose its future. There are big decisions that are falling to be made by governments everywhere as we emerge from this pandemic. Who do we want taking these decisions? Democratically elected governments here in Scotland, guided by the values of the Scottish people, or governments like Boris Johnson's in Westminster that we don't vote for?
Now, what's interesting about all of this is that there are some people within the independence movement who are cynical towards Nicola Sturgeon, believing that she's not really interested in independence and she's only using it as a bandwagon in order to drive support for her party. Now, I don't believe that. I think she's fully supportive of independence. I think, and then you also have the cynics on the other side who are saying that, look, she's just trying to she just wants to win. And she's, like what Trevor Phillips had said, that she's a politician who's waiting for the opportunity to arise where there's enough support, and then she'll call the referendum. But that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. You know, you don't go into a battle knowing that you're going to lose. You go into a battle believing you're going to win. And it makes sense for Sturgeon, for the SNP and the Greens, their new government, to wait until they believe there's sufficient support for Scottish independence. Because there's a huge risk here. There's a huge risk that if they call a referendum too early and there isn't sufficient support and it loses, then the whole question of independence gets kicked down the road for maybe 10, 15 years. So while there is growing support, and I think there's a real appetite for independence in Scotland, at the moment, you know, the numbers don't, according to the polling, the numbers don't represent a massive majority. We're seeing 51%, we're seeing 53%. Maybe that's enough for some people. I don't know. I think there needs to be closer to 60%. Then that would be a better time to call a referendum, because you're pretty sure that you're going to get a victory there. Because if Nicola Sturgeon calls a referendum and the referendum comes about and people vote to remain in the UK, Nicola Sturgeon's career is probably over. the SNP would be in serious trouble. I think you would see serious challenges from the Labour Party and the Conservatives in Scotland, because it would be seen as a failure. They have failed in their primary goal. Now, of course, there are people who vote for the SNP for issues unrelated to independence because they like the way they govern. They believe that they're doing a good job. But I think generally the majority of people voting for the SNP and the Green Party this year was based on independence and having a second referendum. So it makes sense for her to wait. I know some people are saying that she should strike now, strike while the iron is hot. But I think while I used to support that position, I think the polling isn't in favor of that position. I think there's still a long way to go. Need to get out of the pandemic. The pandemic is still, causing damage. Get out of that, and then you can focus on bread and butter issues once again. And I think demonstrating to the public that, look, we were lied to back in 2014. We were told that if we became independent, we would leave we'd be kicked out of the European Union, basically. If we stay in, we'll maintain our EU membership. Of course, that was a lie. It was a lie from the Brexiteers. The Brexiteers, like Boris Johnson and others, were saying, we need to stay a strong union together. And other issues, of course, other lies that were spread by the pro-union section. You'll be able to regurgitate those lies back at them if there's a second referendum. But now, at the moment, there isn't sufficient support, I think, for independence. But I could be wrong. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what do you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?